Hello, and welcome to BOOTCAMP 101, brought to you by the National Propaganda Department of the Pacific Defense Initiative. This video series will inform you of all the basics you as a PDI soldier need to know before going into battle, including communication protocol, weapon deviation, movement and spacing, and basic medical training. In this episode, we will go over movement and spacing. In PR, the team with the better formations does not always win. This is not a full MILSIM game. That being said, spacing and formations can save lives and greatly reduce the work put in by your medic. An important piece of the foundation of formations and spacing is your situational awareness. You should regularly check your map to know where you and friendlies are, and therefore where the enemy could be. Every player here has had a time in their early days where they had a clear shot on someone, and in your excitement you just pulled the trigger and hoped it was not a friendly. When you first start out in PR, your brain struggles with the concept of checking before you shoot. To inexperienced players, the only options are to wait and check your map, leaving you extremely vulnerable if the enemy sees you, or shoot first, ask questions later. But these are not your only options. A player who has been checking their map regularly as they moved might know for a fact that there are no more friendlies in front of him and can make a safe decision to fire on the contact. Sound discipline. Sound discipline is extremely important in close quarters engagements. The most obvious point being, do not use the comma rows at any time. Both teams can hear the comma rows voices, so don't use it. Just don't. Movement sound is a little more complex. Every time you press W, A, S, or D, you make a sound, regardless of stance. Moving your mouse will not make any sound. If you need to look around without being heard, do not use WASD, use your mouse. Sprinting is much louder than regular walking and can be heard from a greater distance. It is vital that you understand what makes sound and what doesn't. I guarantee your sound discipline will save or kill you at least once this campaign. Sprinting. Sprinting should ideally be saved only for when you're under fire or otherwise need to haul ass to keep yourself alive. But we are easily bored creatures and we like to run. Just remember, if a CO catches you out of breath and being shot at while running across an opening, you can bet you will be chewed out and made an example of. The rule of thumb is that you should always have at least 50% of your stamina in case you have to get a move on. The number doesn't have to be exact, as long as you're aware that around 25 to 30% of your stamina remaining, you lose the ability to start a sprint. Be smart, use your judgment. Concealment. The player models in PR have a basic collision system that does not account for limbs and walls. Whenever you are laying prone next to a wall and you turn away from the wall, your legs will stick out of the building, telling the enemy exactly where you are. This also happens when you are firing out of a small window or opening in a building. Your rifle and even part of your arms can stick out, exposing your position. Adding that to the aging hit detection of PR, you can actually take damage from limbs sticking out of walls in certain cases. To counteract this from happening, do your best to stay a couple feet away from walls when prone, and stand a couple feet back when firing from a window. Hopefully this instructional video has given you enough information to be a strong and effective fighting force for your squad and your team. If you have any other questions, please do not hesitate to ask any of the fearless PDI officers. They are here to help you. This instructional video has been paid for by the PDI Coalition Government. All footage is property of the Pacific Defense Initiative Propaganda Department. Any attempts to redistribute outside of the team will be met with a court-martial and serious ass whooping.